Tresize is in there, Trainer's in there, half the team's in there. Let's listen to the Tigers celebrate a 13-point win over the Blues.
Well, the most memorable things in sport happen when we least expect them, and that was an upset for the ages in front of 80,000 fans here at the MCG. The atmosphere was incredible. Jason Dunstall, David King and Joey Montagna. We have witnessed a game people are going to be talking about for a very long time. The Tigers have got that winning feeling again.
I've got to be honest, I'm genuinely stunned. I just wasn't expecting it. I thought their effort was good early, but we're talking about a team here that just persisted and just wanted to have a go, and another team that didn't handle it. And I think the weight of expectation that the Blues may have had on themselves, and the fact that all of a sudden these young upstarts put them under pressure, I'm so delighted for what the Richmond players have experienced out there, because that was reward for effort.
Well, let's be honest, it is one of the biggest upsets of all time, not just because Richmond were given little chance coming into the game. They were then 41 points down and somehow found a way to come back and win. That's what makes it even more remarkable, and we'll give the Tigers all the love in the world, but I've never seen a team panic and as flustered as Carlton were from that. But it was one of the worst performances I've seen from a team that has got enough experience out there.
Could you script a better result for Richmond? Like, to be in that position and to have the kid be the reason you win, and the small ball, which clearly is by design from the coach. What an unbelievable night for Adam Uze.
You know what makes it even better, King, is when you've got a young team, you need to see some reward for effort every now and then. And it's okay to be competitive and they're trying really hard. But when you get the win, when they get that payoff at the end, it makes it all worthwhile, and it takes you where you want to go a hell of a lot quicker.
And Joey, the Tiger Army, they would have come here tonight kind of hoping for the best, looking forward to seeing a glimpse of the future, and perhaps half expecting that they may get smashed. And early doors, that's what it was looking like. You could slowly, with each goal, feel the confidence growing. It got louder and louder, and the roar of the Tiger Army, it was phenomenal.
It was awesome to see. And to be honest, they were all saying they knew it. Once after they won, they go, we knew it. But it was a brilliant performance. And for them to tighten the screws and crank the pressure up when they were 40 points down, that's normally what you get from premiership teams. From contenders, they go, right, we have to turn the screws here. This young side did that and put Carlton to the sword.
Well, one man who's been part of premiership teams and is now part of this rebuilding Tigers team is defender Nick Vlosten, who joins us down in the Tigers room. Nick, you've been part of some incredible wins over your career. This one must feel a little bit different. What is the reaction in the rooms tonight?
Just good fun. A lot of excitement. Young boys come in, not really expecting too much, just energy and effort. But, yeah, that was just good fun.
Nick, you talk about energy and effort. You're 41 points down. Some of the younger players have fumbled a little bit, made the odd decision-making mistake, but they didn't go into their shell. And that effort increased in the second half, and it started to pay off, and you'd have little wins along the way. There's a lot to be said for the mindset of the playing group and what Adam Uze has been able to instill in these players to persist with an effort like that.
Yeah, definitely. We kind of talked about it before the game even. First round, young team, there's always going to be mistakes. Things are going to go wrong. First time playing in front of 80,000 for a lot of these boys, so we knew those things were going to happen. But, yeah, credit to everyone, really. Like, after half-time, it wasn't just the young boys, but, like, I thought Mansour was really good. He's a couple of years in now. Seth, having Lynchy's back's always good. So, yeah, just good team effort.
Yeah, congratulations, Nick. Good brief performance and well led. Just a bit more talking to those points you just mentioned from your vantage point. What were you most proud of throughout the game? Were there some instances, some players? Where were you sitting back and going, geez, I'm proud of what I'm seeing right here?
Probably just the change we made at half-time. Our forwards were getting really far away from the ball, and then Mansell and Seth were having to chase so far. So who's kind of put it on the key forwards to get up the ground, create a contest. And this big fella up behind me, he did that pretty well, Harry. So he crunched a few blokes, and he's good fun playing with. So, yeah, that was probably the major difference I felt from the back line. We could just keep the ball in our front half a little bit more, create a few more contests, because the first half they were kind of just running out with it, and they were hard to stop.
So, Nick, you play in these fantastic teams winning premierships. All of a sudden, the worm turns a little. You're down the bottom. You're having some really tough times last season. I mean, playing down back, it can't be fun with the ball coming down the way it was. And you're probably thinking, I'm not quite used to this. All of a sudden, we see the emergence of Ben Miller starting to play consistently. And young Jacob Blight, I thought, was absolutely brilliant in the first half before he got injured.
Yeah, definitely. It's exciting. Probably playing that different role. Going into games, just trying to learn and teach and just get better, really. So, yeah, it's good fun. Yeah, I'm loving it. After a long, hard, hot pre-season, it's great, just reward for effort, especially kind of after the Collingwood practice game as well. We lowered our colours a bit there, but, yeah, it's just good fun.
Take us into the coach's box or the coach's room, the meeting with you guys at half-time. What was Adam Uze's message? Because at that stage, it did look like the game was sliding. He kicked the last couple in that second quarter, which was important. What was his message?
Yeah, there was probably just that 10 minutes of momentum, and Ooze kind of fed off that. But, yeah, the message was we had to get the forwards a bit further up the ground. Us defenders, we had to get up the ground too. Carlton were making the ground really big, so we wanted to get back into contest. They were kind of chipping it over our mids to their mids running forward, and then us as defenders, we weren't playing bold enough. So that was probably the main message, just density behind the footy so we could get into the contest and then, yeah, get it going forward. And even Bow went to Wiedering in the second half, kind of nullified him a fair bit too. So they were probably the two pinnacle ones.
Your pressure was awesome late in the game, and I know our commentary team really picked up on moments Carlton were panicking and fumbling under the pressure. Could you feel that out there, that they were panicking and you could take advantage of it?
Yeah, definitely. That was probably us the first half, to be honest. Our ball security, they were sweating on us, popping it out, and they'd have the first number there. So we did talk about that as well. And then, yeah, the second half, definitely in that last quarter, they were a little bit fumbly, and a few of our young boys were really clean as well. So, yeah, they're probably the moments in the game.
And Nick, last one before we let you go, we have to ask you about Sam Lawler. It was incredible, the debut of him tonight. You came and grew up along with Dusty and saw what he did. I know there's been a lot of comparisons and you might not want to go there, but just tell us a little bit about what you've seen from this kid so far.
He's probably been in the cotton wool a little bit over pre-season, and then they kind of let him go in that West Coast game and he broke his jaw. So we haven't seen too much of him yet, but what he does do, it's pretty special. Tonight he was just so clean. He's a bull. Yeah, he's going to be pretty special for us, I think.
Well, that was a lot of fun to play in. As you've said, it was a lot of fun to watch for us on Fox Footy. Thanks so much for your time, Nick. We look forward to seeing you against Port Adelaide next week over at Adelaide Oval.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Brilliant.
Chase.
There's some excitement in just the way he's talking, these young kids.
You only hold back the crazy ones. You only hold back the crazy ones from practice matches and scrimmage games at training. He was unreal, this guy, wasn't he?
He was. I mean, right from his very first touch that Jason said, it did have the shades of Dusty, the shimmy of the hips and breaking out of tackles. He was clean. His hands were sharp. You called it throughout the game. And then late, there were some moments in the second half where they needed someone just to impact. And it was the first gamer that did it. And particularly in that last quarter, 3 or 4 times, he was able to get involved and, you know, really impact. And, I mean, if this is just the tip of the iceberg, it's going to be a pretty special career.
Welcome to the big time. He looks like he belongs, Kingy.
Yeah, well, he's pick one. He's an elite talent. We sort of know what we're hoping for. But I was amazed at his handball. His composure to take it from inside traffic to outside. You just don't see young players have the wherewithal at this early. Game 1, Jason, was unreal.
No, great composure. I love the fact that he always keeps his feet too. Yeah. We saw a lot of players slip and slide. Young players often under pressure will go to ground. He was always running on top of it. He's got a good firm base. I love we've only seen a tiny bit of it. It's a lot to look forward to, isn't it?
Second half numbers there are exceptional. All right, we're going to have a look at our KFC FLG moment of the match, and it was Seth Campbell, a brilliant goal. But I think it will be the celebration, Jason, that we'll remember for a long time to come.
Look at the fitness. He's got the legs. I mean, we don't know how many efforts players have had leading up to that. But he was fresh, and he was like a 100-metre sprinter at the Olympics. He went past Cowan like he was standing still. And then have a look at this.
Have you done that?
There has to be a gymnastics background here. It's too good. He even bounces when he lands perfectly, like when you're watching the professional gymnasts. This is spectacular.
I'd love to see you do that on the bounce. Just get the boys on the bounce there.
Yeah. I don't have enough insurance for that, Kingy.
I think we give him a 10 for execution. That was fabulous, and I think it just shows the pure joy, Joey, that's in this team. team tonight. I mean, I think Nick used the word fun about 10 times in that interview. This was just pure joy, getting out there and having a kick.
Absolutely, and we couldn't say we saw too much of that last year, but they just looked like they were just playing with some freedom and enjoyment, and maybe Adamuze has just released a bit of the pressure, and to be able to do that after that sprint, he must have had jelly legs. He must have had the lactic acid, but to still have the energy to do that. But no, it was great to see, and they played with an enthusiasm that we probably haven't seen from them for a while.
Before the game, you put on the agenda that if we were looking for positives and things we could take out of the pre-season, their swarm was something that Adamuze would be pleased with. And tonight, that was one of the keys to their success.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't in the first half, and as Nick Vlosten told us, they couldn't really get after them too much because Carlton were able to control the ball. But once they ramped up the pressure and got after the Carlton in their forward half, as we said before, they made the Blues look so jittery, and full credit to Richmond, they made them pay. They kicked 6 goals from forward half turnovers, so 36 points in the second half alone. I mean, the AFL average is about 25, so they really got bang for buck. They all got involved, I thought, as they touched on Mansell and Campbell, Lawler himself, a couple of the bigs as well, and it was a team effort. And Carlton just did not go with them, could not handle it, and Richmond got the rewards.
They certainly did, and you would expect that that is going to be a hallmark of their side this year. As you said before the game, Jason, effort and intensity. You don't need talent and experience. You just have to bring it.
Exactly right, and that's what they brought. We can see here in the second half, the way they were able to press up, 13 forward half intercepts resulting in 6 goals. That's an incredible return. I mean, Adamuze couldn't have expected that. That's as good as you get.
We're going to show some vision now, Jace, which I know you've been pulling together with the team back at Fox Footy HQ. It is not vision Carlton players or supporters are going to be all too happy with, because it shows some moments where they really just lost the plot.
It does, and what it also tells you, I mean, that's a young player in his first game with an errant hand pass, but even good, experienced players aren't immune to the effect of pressure. And we're going to see some players here make strange decisions. Look at this. He's got numbers around the ball. McGovern, he kicks it off the ground and costs him a goal. This is when the game, Tigers are coming and the game's on the line. We just saw some extraordinary here. Kick it up the line. He goes for a torp off one step off the outside of the boot. This is right on the siren, which gives them momentum going into that three-quarter time huddle. Here we go again. Sam Doherty. It's just a fumble, doesn't control the hand pass, results in a goal. These are things you just don't expect to see. But if you put enough pressure on, players are human. Here's 2 players that can't work it out. Haynes drops the mark, and then McGovern goes down in sympathy. They both fall over, and then the Tigers just pick it up and kick to an unmarked player in the square. I'd love to be a fly on the wall when Michael Voss reviews this game, because he's going to see some things that he's going, I didn't think we had this in us.
You got to call a spade a spade. They looked timid in the second half. They looked like they were a rabbit in the spotlight there for a while. I've never seen players just lose their minds, just bomb the ball long, panic. They didn't want to take responsibility for the football. You got to treat it like gold sometimes. They just needed someone to play with composure. And outside of Cripps, De Koning and Wiedering, there really wasn't a lot else to look forward to steady the ship.
The lack of care with the ball in that second half was on display. Right from almost the very first contest, I think it was Jesse Motlop on the wing, decided not to put his hands down, try and kick it up to himself. There were some fumbles and drop marks, and then from there, it filtered through the whole team, and they couldn't recover.
Their confidence gets shattered, and you could see Richmond growing in confidence with every mistake the Blues made, and Nick Vlosten admitted as much when we just spoke to him. Then one player you wanted more from, and you could sense the Blues fans begging Harry Mackay to lift. It just wasn't his night. He was well beat.
There was an opportunity for Harry to grab this game and basically win it for Carlton, take some marks. But in the first half, he had young Jacob Blight, who I thought was outstanding. We spoke about him earlier, a 23-year-old, a mature age recruit from the Waffle. But he's come in and his body work, his positioning was fantastic. And he beat him in a raft of one-on-ones. And just, look, they weren't great kicks going to Harry, but you kind of thought Harry might impose himself physically. No. And then it was Ben Miller who moved after Blight got injured. Ben Miller in the second half started doing the same thing, which I think, again, Harry's not going to enjoy looking at this. There's Michael Voss having a chat to him, mate. Sometimes the kick mightn't be great, but you find a way to at least bring the ball to ground, not just get outmarked and get pushed out of the contest. And he just wasn't able to do that tonight. And
to add salt to the wounds, Kingy, they are in the record books.
They're in the record books, all right. It's the greatest loss from a team that's won the inside 50s by 25 and contested possessions by 20. the greatest loss on record. And it's only 13 points, but those numbers, this is what we're talking about. The growth of Carlton. Do they have the system? Do they have the composure to take that next step, to go from a 13.5 and 13-win team to 15, 16, 17? In games like this, they just need to be measured and clinical and stick true to what they'd done during the summer, not lose their minds, Joey, and they tick this box and move on. But now the pressure's enormous.
Yep. As soon as the pressure came, they reverted back to their old ways, didn't they? They just bombed it in. They weren't taking care of the ball. They weren't trying to build it up and switch angles. And that's a big concern. That is the worry for Mockle-Voss. They've had all summer to train it, to prepare for it. And as soon as the pressure came, they crumbled. So he's got a lot of soul searching to do as a coaching group and with the players and how they can recover, because look who they've got in 7 days' time. It doesn't get any easier.
Wow.
It's a big month ahead, but again, let's not crucify them on the strength of one performance. It's a bad one, a really, really bad one, and one that might haunt them later on. But we give everyone a mulligan, don't we? So you'd expect to see a much better effort next week.
So what do you do if you're Michael Voss? How do you address this loss?
There are some losses. They'll go through some of those things that we just highlighted there and go, this just isn't acceptable. But there are some games that are that bad that you wipe them and you try to just say, I'll give you guys an hour.
Oh,
let's move
you're
on.
Generous.
I'd love you to be
You're
my
generous.
coach.
Yes,
Can
so
you
would
coach
I.
me?
Otherwise, you're chasing your tail from round one, and there's no good doing that. It's a long year ahead, and you've got to give them an out. You've got to give an opportunity to redeem themselves. So if I was Hawthorn next week, I'd be expecting a fierce Carlton outfit to come at them.